first time I went to Palestine in 1986, I went to a town called al-Fahd, which means mother of coal. A coal mining region, a coal region in where right next to what's called the plain of Megiddo, you know, where Armageddon is supposed to happen. This big, open agricultural land. And that was the land of the people in that village until 1949, when they were dispossessed of the land. Not in the 48 war, but after the war was over, all their land was taken because it was good agricultural land. And all the people in that city, all the men anyways, became commuter workers who had to commute 2 hours every day each way into Tel Aviv to be the garbage pickup people and to do the street cleaning and all the dirty jobs nobody else wanted. And Itno Umuma Fahim, in Israel, which has a kind of European level of development for most of the country, the sewage ran down the streets of the city. There was no sewage system in Umuma Fahim. No apartheid? That's crazy. The most fundamental right for any people is who can live in your country. In Israel, the law, and this is inside 48, says that any person who can claim Jewish heritage from anywhere in the world can, quote-unquote, return to a country they've never been in for the most part. But no Palestinians who were evicted or their descendants, those who were thrown out in 1948 or 1967, can live there. That is the most fundamental right of all, isn't it? Who can live in the country? And Palestinians who are denied that right. It's an apartheid society. In fact, it's very interesting if you say, well, why not just solve this issue? And this is going to ultimately, I believe, have to be the solution. The two-state solution. If the Israelis have taken half the West Bank and built their wall, what kind of state could there be for the Palestinians? I believe that someday there will be one society with equal rights for all people. I believe that. And you know, is that such a radical idea? Aren't we supposed to believe in that? But if you say to the defenders of Israel, either in the United States or in Israel, one society with equal rights for all, they act like that's the craziest, wildest, most unacceptable idea that they ever heard of. And why is that? Well, because then it could not be and would not be an apartheid state anymore. We can understand why the Israeli rulers want that. They want to expand their territory. Why does the United States want it? Because when South Africa was an apartheid society, it not only oppressed the black people and the brown people and the Asian people, all the other people who weren't designated as white in South Africa, it served as an instrument of U.S. domination in all of sub-Saharan Africa. Once it ceased to be an apartheid state, it could no longer play that role. And that would be the same in this case, I believe, as well. Mazda mentioned that there could be a shift in U.S. policy. And that's true, there could be. Why could there be a shift? It looks like it's impossible. It looks like every U.S. politician just about loves Israel, 100% for Israel. They swear their allegiance to Israel. They go to the AIPAC dinners every time they can. But we shouldn't believe what they say there any more than we believe what they say about anything else. They're not very honest as a group. And they don't really have that great loyalty. What has happened in the last few years is a failure of the policy. Bush failed to do what he said he was going to do. The U.S., it looks like it could escape Iraq without a catastrophe, but the Iraq war was supposed to remake the Middle East. In 2006, the Israelis went into Lebanon to smash Hezbollah. They claimed it was because of a couple captured soldiers. Do you devastate a whole country because of that? No. That was an act that was designed to smash the resistance to U.S. domination inside of Lebanon. This year they went in December and they wreaked havoc with the most horrible weapons in Gaza. But did they defeat the Palestinians? Well, they did not. They have not succeeded in what they've been trying. The attempts to bring down the Syrian and Iranian governments have also failed. So the policymakers in Washington have to think, and they are thinking, I can guarantee you. I'm not predicting that they're going to do something different, but they're thinking about it. This didn't work, this approach didn't work. Maybe we should shift gears and go for a different approach and try for something that they've called the grand bargain. But the only way the grand bargain could work would be that Israel would have to give up, really give up the West Bank. It would have to get out of the Golan Heights. And the Israeli leaders, as they go more and more in this right-wing, expansionist, fascist direction, and it's truly being discussed inside Israel, believe me, as a tendency toward fascism inside Israel. They have no inclination to accept that. Again, I'm not predicting this, but I'm saying there's a possibility that a conflict could come. And the United States, in doing this, would not do it because they're anywhere interested in the welfare, the well-being of the Palestinians, the Lebanese, the other Arab people, but because they wish to obtain certain objectives and may believe that by a change of course they could do that, a different course than the one that they've been taking that has been failing. But their aim would be the same. Their aim would still be to dominate this key strategic region, which has 70% of the world's petroleum reserves and is the crossroads of the world in many, many respects. So there can be different strategies, but the objectives of domination will remain the same, depending on, aside from the tactics that they use. So, what can bring about real change? What will really change the situation? The only thing that will really bring about a change in the situation is the only thing that has ever brought about real change. And when I mean real change, I mean fundamental change. Like when, in this country, when labor unions became legal in the 1930s. When we got unemployment insurance for the first time and Social Security. Because before that, you know, when people got old or people lost their job, they were tough out of luck. They could starve. The system didn't provide for them. Or the end to apartheid, American style. The segregation system, the Jim Crow segregation system that existed not only in the South, but all over the United States. I remember Malcolm X saying, when I say the South, I mean south of the Canadian border. And he was right. I grew up in Rochester, New York, which is about as close to the Canadian border as you can get and still be in the United States. It was a completely segregated city. The end of apartheid American style, the end of the war in Vietnam, women's rights, all of the real advances that have taken place over the whole history of the United States, from abolitionist movement all the way up to recent history, have come about have not originated inside the halls of Congress or in the White House. They've come from the streets, they've come from the movements of the people, of ordinary people, thank you, of ordinary people, which is a stupid term to use because there are actually no ordinary people. But that's the way it's, but the people who don't have power, who decide that they no longer will accept the way things are. That's what brings about real change. If you had told Lyndon Baines Johnson that he would become known in history along with the Vietnam War, which he's also known for, but for signing the Civil Rights Law in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, if you had told him that 10 years earlier, he would not have been happy to hear those words. He was a South Texas politician. Why did he do it? Why did Richard Nixon sign affirmative action laws? Why did Richard Nixon sign a treaty with the Vietnamese people that really brought about the end of the Vietnam War? Because they had changed their mind? No, because the movement of the people of the world forced them to change their mind, forced them to make concessions, forced them to do what they had never dreamed that they would do. And the same thing is true today. That's what the Answer Coalition, as the earlier speaker said, is really about. We're about building a movement of the people. Only that kind of movement can bring about the change, the real fundamental change that we need. And the next day that we have coming, as Karima mentioned earlier, is March 21st, when there will be demonstrations all over the world on the 6th anniversary of the illegal, criminal, and disastrous invasion of Iraq. And we will be marching under these slogans. Occupation is a crime. Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine, and money for people's needs, not for war and not for bank bailouts. Thank you. We hope to see you.
The word you need to know is occupation, the very definition of a land without a nation. And if peace is what you're after, then let us not deceive. It will come on.